Welcome back, everybody, to the Legion Alpha. I am Sparhawk, once again coming to you from the Alpha. This time we are doing Neltharion's Lair dungeon preview. I love this place. It's fun. You get the giant water slide at the very beginning, opening things up. Today we were messing around on the Demon Hunter, doing a little DPS. Again at 110 because on the PvP realm, fully unlocked artifact weapon and 810 item level gear, except for the weapon, of course, which is 750. So we'll get started shortly. We're just waiting on our tank who decided to be slow. So there's a quick look at the talents that I decided to use for this run. Blind Fury. That's I-Beam Duration, Chaos Cleave, First Blood, Desperate Instincts, Nemesis is a great one, Unleash Power, and then Chaos Blades. Pause the video so you can read the talents if you want. Of course, you can always check them out on Wildhead, things like that, but that's basically what I decided to use and see how good those talents worked in this bit of a run. I can say Cleave on a Demon Hunter is fantastic. They get tons of cleaving ability, not just with I-Beam, but a bunch of other abilities as well. And their artifact weapon, of course, the first ability they get with that is a cleave. You know, they just send their war blades out there. They start spinning around, hitting everything in sight. So this dungeon didn't take all that long. Very quick dungeon. Mechanically, not that hard or anything like that. It is normal mode, not heroic or anything like that. So it is just a normal run. So it was pretty easy to just go in blind, not know any of the mechanics, and pull out the bosses pretty easily. So lots of trash. I've already shown you guys those two the rock family there. I feel bad that we had to kill them, but such is life, right? So the weird, I wouldn't say weird, but I guess the challenging part with the Demon Hunter is not their DPS rotation or anything like that. It's their Soul Cleave that puts those purple orbs that you'll see out onto the playing field, and if you run over them, they heal you for a massive amount. But they also give you a 20% damage buff. So, unlike the tank Demon Hunter, however, that can pull them into themselves via their abilities and then get their heal, the DPS Demon Hunter has to run over them and be in range of it for it to actually come to them. So, something to play with. I wasn't too worried about it here in this run, but it's definitely worth getting that buff. I can see the difference when I was looking at the comment log. The more I had that buff, obviously, the more damage I did by a long shot compared to when I wasn't using the buff very much. So, I mean, I still pulled pretty big DPS, but it was a difference between, you know, doing 150k versus 223k and things like that. So it does make a difference over time. So definitely you want to try and watch where the orbs are when they come out and try and pick them up as much as possible. It may seem like a DPS loss because you have to run around and go get them, but worth it. Otherwise, I love the animations Demon Hunters have. Hopefully you're able to kind of see a lot of them. You know, you have, you know, an AoE type ability where similar to Bunks in D3, where you just go 7-sided strike, where you're just slicing through everybody. I love that type of move. You can always grow big. Your weapons bring out another Demon Hunter that just flies in, does a little bit of damage, and then disappears. Visually, it's a very pleasing melee spec. I hope you enjoyed the little barrel roll there. Barrels in water, always fun. And again, that was the first boss, by the way. That rock guy, that is your first boss. Doesn't do anything all that challenging, but that was it on heroic. I'm pretty sure he'll do a lot more. Especially those ads really didn't do anything. They weren't threatening in any way. Now I actually tanked these for a little bit with no problem, and the reason for that is that one of your abilities as DPS Demon Hunter does give you a 100% dodge. So every time you're able to use it, you can dodge just fine. So when my tank ran away from me and decided to go pull other mobs instead, and I had all those mobs, you know, you were still doing just fine. But you see the purple orbs are over there. Now the idea would be to go grab one and get your damage buff like I just did there, and then use that damage buff. In this case I use it for I-beam and everything and my AoEs because it was an AoE pack. So ideally you'll run around, try and collect them as much as possible and increase your DPS that way. Now raid mechanics may, you know, hinder that a bit, and I don't know how much they'll come off on a boss fight in an actual raid, but I think there'll be a healthy amount of them. So again, lots of trash, none of it threatening whatsoever. We just grabbed everything. Demon Hunter tank, so he had the AoE grip, and he just kept them all pulled together, and we just kept AoEing them down. No big deal whatsoever. I-beam by far your hardest hitting ability with the weapon unlock, because you also get anguish. So when you hit a target with I-beam, they're building up anguish stacks, and then once those stacks run out, they basically explode. So huge extra damage at the end of it for long living targets. Yeah, if you see the eyeball now, that's one of the new warlock pets. They get the beholder now. That's like Dermu in TOT. So warlocks, be happy you have a new demon after all these years. Now again, I am running these videos a bit faster so that you can see the whole place, just so you can kind of see there's going to be some other dungeons. You'll be able to see where you can skip mobs, so you already know when this goes live, you'll know how to run the place faster and not have to deal with all the trash. There's not much skipping in this one, but there will be in like Dark Heart Thicket and some other ones. Alright, so the second boss, again, not too hard. His only real mechanic is he'll go towards the center and become immune to damage and disappear, and then brings these little statues out, and you have to find the statue that he's actually in. So he's basically hiding. Unfortunately, not all the time when they're dead do they disappear, so you have to watch their health bar, which I was ignoring at first. Because you figure if they're dead they should disappear, so we had to find the one that was actually still alive. But pretty much you just DPS those until you find him. And that's really his only big mechanic. I mean, he does, you know, some rocks out of the ground and all that stuff, but from his slimes. But there's really nothing all that exciting. You know, rocks from the ceiling. I guess that's about it. None of it really does any damage. Again, it's just normal. And it's just about following them and trying to figure out which one he's in. So we just employed the method of DPS them until they die, and he will show up. Maybe on heroic you'll actually have to pay attention a little bit more and try and pick the correct one, because there is a correct one, and I know there are some people that have already figured out the pattern and all that as to which one he'll actually be in, and it makes it quicker. But because there's really no threatening damage, we didn't really pay attention. We just, you know, DPS him until he came out. But again, it's normal, so, you know, it's not really designed for the item level or the gear that I have. I think some of the others were lower level from the leveling realm, that because the leveling realm and the PvP realm share the dungeons, but wasn't too hard. Pretty easy. Again, only 4 bosses in this one. Very quick, very quickly. So here's our first skipping of mods. We decided to just jump up here and run around, and you get to skip 1 2-packs. Okay, maybe 3. No, I think he pulls that one anyway, so. I do like gliding. I have to admit. Didn't think I was going to care about the gliding, but I enjoy it. But again, I like some of the visuals. You've got AoE stun, you've got eye beam, you've got chaos blades, just ripping things to shreds. You've got abilities to give you 100% dodge while DPSing. That's kind of nice. And everything does a crap ton of damage. Next boss, the giant worm. Gotta love worms. They have, you know, some mechanics, but for the most part, I think we ignored it. You know, poison on the ground. That's a mechanic. Should probably stay out of that. And then ads that you can kill if you wish. They also can be poisoned. If they run through the poison, they kind of stop chasing you and just die on their own slowly. They just do like a ground slam. But again, I didn't really pay much attention to it. You can kind of see it in the video. I mean, you can see them, they're just standing there because they've hit the poison, and occasionally will do a little slam with their weapon, but that's all they'll do once they've hit a poison circle. Otherwise they chase you. So as you saw, I take mine, wait till he hits a poison circle correctly, and then he stands still. I go back to boss. Very simple. It's not a bad boss. It just needs, most of these are, like I said, I don't know what they're aiming for, that kind of damage scale where it's not all that threatening in normal, and then ramp it up in heroic, and then of course challenge modes, which will be different in Legion. More of the greater rift style of D3, where you just kind of amp up the damage and the health and add mechanics in, and challenge yourself that way. So they want to keep normal kind of low and easy. Now this was the only trash that was threatening. Pulling all these scorpions and guys was not the smartest move our tank made, but we eventually got through it. But I don't think our healer liked him for that one. So there was one threatening group of mobs if you pull them all, and this is it. Right before the last boss started, if you can watch everybody's health, it starts to drop. But again, go find your orbs, demon hunters. It's like a 400k heal. You'll be very satisfied that you ran over it. Plus you get the damage buff. You can't really go wrong with that. In tense situations like this, find your orbs. Save your healers some time. And then you have the Underking being the last boss in this one. We are trying to get his hammer back that he stole. When you go in and do the quest lines for High Mountain, that's one of the first things that'll happen, is he steals the hammer that they believe you need. It's a gift from the Titans. So he stole it, runs off, does a little devastation, and you spend that whole zone pretty much looking for him. And that ends up here when you start fighting him in Deathwing's old house, where he used to hang out. Again, this boss, not a whole lot to it. You have rocks that he puts up. He does the slams, brings an ad out. He does have one mechanic that requires you to hide behind the rocks, which I completely ignored. I did not actually hide for that mechanic and did not die on heroic. I would assume I will die if I don't follow that mechanic carefully. But does have a tank knockback, so tanks watch the lava. That's from the Molten Crash, which is the giant rock that shoots out of the ground. Does kind of knock you back, but again, because it's normal mode, not all that threatening. But that magma wave that goes across is supposed to kind of hide from that, but we just ate it. No big deal. Get done. You've got Rathion, who is also in High Mountain Zone, along with one of our buddies that we made from High Mountain as well. Overall, it's not a bad dungeon. Very short, very quick. Kind of liked it. So, hope you enjoyed the preview. Again, check us out as always. milkshakefactory.engine.com, US Storm Rage. Like the YouTube, check out more of the classes and dungeon previews as we put them up, and have a great one.